lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Before my life begun, I'm so glad that my problems stay with you. With confidence I know your grace will pull me through. Well, you promised to always be there. I trust in you because I know you care. Lord, I got a situation that is going on in my life, and I need you here by my side. Lord, I got a situation, only you can make it right. I surrender, Lord, please be my guide. I'll sit and wait patiently. I know that in your time that you will answer me. Lord, I thank you for letting me cast my fears and healing all the pain and drying my tears. You promised to always be there. Trust in you because I know you care. Lord, I got a situation that is going on in my life, and I need you here by my side. Lord, I got a situation only you can make
And welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, happy Friday, and all of those wonderful things to our Crises listeners. Welcome to the Crises Radio Show. I am your host, Dr. Rodney Pearson, and I have a wonderful co-host. Go ahead and introduce yourself, lady. Miss Christina, where are you? She must be on mute and not know she's on mute. Miss Christina, if you can hear me, are you there? Christina, I don't hear you, so I'm just going to keep on going. Maybe your phone went out or something. Microphone's not working. But anyway, we are so glad to have all of our Crises listeners who are on the line with us via internet or whatever vehicle that you're using. We're so glad. And Crises is all about determination that our survivors, people who have come through the fire, people who have come through traumatic situations, what we do on this show is that we come on and we make sure that all of our people who come on this show are celebrated. Survivors. This is a show about the survivors of traumatic experiences. Christina, you on there with me yet? We are still waiting for Christina. So anyway, we're not going to hold the show any longer because I got a very special guest with me tonight, and that guest is Delphia, with middle name that we call her affectionately Kitty, and her last name is Addison. So I would love Elation Radio, Crises, audience, everybody. Are you there, Kitty?
I'm here.
Good, good. So welcome to Crises, and let's have a big round of applause for our dear, dear special guest, Miss Kitty.
Thank you.
Yes, we are so glad to have you be a part of our show tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome. You are so welcome. I don't know if our co-host, if her phone is working or something.
No, yes, I'm here. I'm here. Praise God, praise God. How are you?
No, there she is. Just are you being like the stereotypical woman that's late to everything? You're not that woman, are you?
Oh no, he didn't. Look at him. Look at him. I almost bust out in song right now. That Michael Jackson. You want to be starting something? You got to be. No, seriously. Today is my daughter's 21st birthday, so we're having a little shindig here. Yeah, I had to run upstairs to kind of isolate myself. You know, I'm just praising God, because she has a story of survival. I definitely want her to be on the show. So, me celebrating birthdays is about celebrating another year of a blessed life.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be here. I was on the line. I was just waiting to get, that tune in. So I did hear the opening. I did hear a little bit about the our special guest. Woohoo.
Okay.
So I'm really
Did you hear me begging and pleading, Christina, where are you? Where are you?
Oh, yes. I'm like, I'm here. I'm feeling like Alice in Wonderland, the Hispanic version. I'm like, no, waving down and woo-woo. I'm here. But, no, it's all good. Everything's about timing. Good. Amen. Good. So, yes, I chimed in, was able to chime in, like perfect timing, and here we are. I'm very excited to be here tonight with everybody. And I can't wait to hear this story.
Well, let me tell you, Christina, this is my blood sister. All right, this is not a pretend sister. This is not a stepsister, almost cousin, or anything like that. This is my blood.
A sister friend.
Yeah, no, this ain't none of that. And I tell you that she wrote a book. First, let me tell you about her book. It is called Black
Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo. Yes, we celebrate that.
And her book, Black Sheep Talk, and I'll let you tell her. She'll tell about it. But here's the thing: when she was letting me see her notes, because I helped her to do the editing and get the book all prepared and what have you for retail. When she was showing, when I was reading the notes, I was completely blown away. I'm like, no, this did not all happen to my sister. What in the world is going on? We grew up in a nice Christian home. We had just this great, I think, compared to other people in my neighborhood. I mean, we grew up in the ghetto, but it didn't feel like the ghetto in our house. It felt like, we were just living good. And when she started telling me her story, Christina, I was completely blown away.
Oh, my gosh.
And hey, and that's the edited version. That was the R-rated, the G or PG-13.
He said the NC-17, yeah.
So the real version is even worse, but she has been through a lot, and I'm so proud of my sister because in spite of all that she went through, she has still, not only is she a survivor, but she, of course, as I said, she's an author. She has her own business where she creates these little things for people, and she does so much. She works with us also with my group, Brothers United Against Domestic Violence. She works alongside with me and my wife with this group. So, hey,
wow.
She is in it. She is in it. So let's drill her now. Christine, are you ready?
Oh, he said drill her. I can't even keep up trying to scribble some notes or questions I want to ask. I'm surprised this pen isn't, steam coming up. I'm like, wow. One thing I do want to say is that when people look at a Christian, quote unquote, a Christian household, they automatically stereotype, which means they'll generalize that it's all rainbows and flowers and that it's all, gravy and yet that's what I love about Crisis is that we're able to show the realness of, it's not, and unfortunately behind closed doors sometimes, we go through some things. That's what's real. Right. We do go. So even as Christians, even as believers, we do face things. Look at Job. We do face things. And I'm excited because your pain moved to purpose. I haven't even heard your story, but your pain, from what I'm hearing so far, has moved to purpose, pain to purpose. So that right there, in a sense, is, brings inspiration to people, those that have gone through things and, here you are living, walking witness and testimony. Not only that, but you're productive in society, and that in itself can inspire others to do the same. There is hope. There is a second chance. God is a God of second chances. Amen. Right. So I can't wait to hear. I'll shut up now.
Well, let's go ahead and let's do it then, okay? She's probably sitting on 10 pins and needles too, so we all shut up.
Only because you said you were going to drill me.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We're going to let you have it.
That's what got me on pins and needles.
We're gonna let you have it. Let's welcome to our show Kitty. And Kitty, we want to hear all about your story. We're gonna ask you some questions, and why don't we start with you just letting us know about you now. Just before we go into the history, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let our audience know a little bit about who you are today.
Well, hello, audience. Who I am today is a lady that survived not only domestic violence, but also sexual abuse and very low self-esteem, which brought me to my drug addiction. And so I have a very colorful past, but I am I work part-time now. My heart is still with working with people working with the homeless, you know, working with those that have encountered just pain, emotional pain. It doesn't have to be because of domestic violence, you know, but anybody that, has to do with pain, you know. And, you know, domestic violence, you know, that a lot of that comes from some kind of pain that happened somewhere, you know, down the line. But today I am waiting for opportunities to come to me. I have some airtime on radio that I'll be doing really, really soon here for weekends. I actually
and what's the name of your show? What's the name of your show?
It's going to be Kitty's Corner, but it's KDDGS Radio.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
And you're going to be doing that on what time and what day?
I'll be doing it on the weekend.
On the weekends. Okay. All right,
yes,
good.
Saturdays and Sundays. So
you'll have your...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so you're going to have your own radio show. Tell the people a little bit about your book.
Oh, my book. My book came from, and, you know, just to give you just a little bit about how Rodney actually is the one. I have that book because of him. And he actually was going through some notes, like he said. And I was excited to find out that, you know, he thought it was a great write because I only wrote the book because it was an assignment that I had to do. It wasn't for writing a book. It was for writing the most devastating thing that happened to me when I was a child. And so when I started writing from the time I was a child, I couldn't think of anything really, really bad in my household, but what came from that was what happened when I was outside of the household. And that's when I was molested, when I was outside of the household. And so,
why don't you talk a little bit about that experience? So you were first sexually abused as a child. Talk a little bit about how that happened.
Well, and this I talk about this in my book. Actually, this is how my book begins. In the first couple of pages, was how I was a little girl, 5 years old, in the kindergarten, and one of my classmates, she was my best friend, and she used to leave every day. She left and go home for lunch, and I wondered why she kept going home for lunch. And so I asked her, and she told me why. But at that time, her father was signaling, you know, making signals for me to come and see what he wanted. So I did, and he took me to the house. We went to McDonald's, and of course, every child loves McDonald's. You can lure almost any child, you know, to do anything if you tell them you want McDonald's. And so, you know, he kind of capitalized on that. And so I went to his house, and of course, he gives us our food. He gives her food, and sends her in the room, makes her close the door, and tell me to go in the living room. I sit on the floor, and I'm just excited about eating my fries and my burger. I'm just real excited about that because I love food anyway. Still to this day, I love food.
Yes, much too much.
We must be related then, because the way to my heart is through my stomach, okay, and my taste buds.
What he did was he sat me on his lap, and he just started fondling me, you know, and I don't remember the extent of where that went after that. I think God kind of blocked that out of my mind, you know. That's not anything for any child to have to think about or know about or anything. So I was glad that the details were blocked out of my mind, but the initial act of him molesting me, I still remember how that happened. So
wow.
I talk about that.
That's 45 years. What is that, 45 years ago?
That's 50 years ago.
50 years ago, and you still remember it today.
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that. I will remember that till the day I die.
That's amazing.
Well, and that is amazing. And I do want to share here, just for the listeners, so they could understand, is that there are times where our bodies are so incredible that our minds will literally develop a defense mechanism to protect itself. So we will block the most traumatic things. I had been molested when I was a young girl, and that's something, the details are blocked out, and I praise God for that. But deep down inside, we just know. We remember a lot of details up to that specific point. But, so that's something that, because some people, you know, they desire to remember, and that's something that we have to be, you know, very, you know, considerate of in those thoughts. You know, to some people, do you really want to know? Or go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one of the things that we have to remember is that now for some people, for instance, my experience, I remember everything. And there are some people who they remember it all. I remember it like it was yesterday, and, you know, the multiple times. I remember the whole incident. But just, you know, just as we're talking about this, yes, my wife actually says to me that her past experiences, it's like she can't remember. She can't pull it back up. So, yes, there are some people who it's totally blocked. They don't remember a thing. And then there are other people who every time there is a trigger or a reminder, it brings it right back up.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Kitty, so you went through this first thing that happened to you. Can you remember the next thing that happened? Was it with the same person?
I do.
Okay, what happened?
I remember it. Now, that one I remember every detail.
Okay.
And that was when I had left, after I left home, you know, and I left home very early because I was scared to come home and just never did go back home. But anyway, while I was out there, and I was
not at 5 years old. Let's clarify. We're not talking about at 5 years old. We're talking about years later.
Oh, right. Because my next, I don't even know if there was another incident with him. Like I said, I remember that initial act, but I don't remember anything else after that.
Okay. We just want to clarify for our audience. So life went on. You went on to school and you started growing up, and then at a certain age, what happened?
I was in high school.
Okay.
I was in high school. I was in the 10th grade, and I did school for the first time. Never did school.
Okay. And for our audience who did not grow up in the ghetto and you don't know what did school is, some people will call it playing hooky or you just missed school on your own. Just to make sure you all understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't go to class that day.
Didn't go to class.
Yeah. And so I went with one of my classmates, and we went off somewhere, and she met up with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend had a friend. He was 21 years old. I think I was 16 or 17 years old. And he raped me. To make a long story short, you know, he raped me. And
wow.
Yeah, he did. He raped me. And that is something that affects me today in my life. Yeah, that still affects me. Yeah.
How does it affect you, if you don't mind me asking?
That's it. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, how does that affect you?
It affects me because, you know, as little girls, you know, you always have these fantasies about, you know, having a husband and, you know, what it's going to be like, you know, when you kiss kiss your boyfriend or your husband, and, you know, the love part about the not sexual, but just the love part, you know, about somebody loving you. And then, you know, also the sexual part, if you don't know that much about it, you can't really think about it. So it wasn't so much of the sexual part, but it was the loving part of a man loving you and touching you and all this, that, and the other.
So you're
after
talking about the
happened,
intimacy. You're just saying intimacy.
Right.
Okay,
right,
go ahead.
Exactly. So after that happened, my what I thought it was supposed to be like when you first make love with somebody was not that at all. It was very painful. It was very devastating. You know, it was hurtful. It was a nightmare for me. My first sexual experience.
So this experience that was supposed to be something that was a godsend with your brand new husband, honeymoon night, all of that you were waiting for and expecting. Instead of getting that, you get this brutal awakening to what sexual life is about.
Right.
Amazing.
So I feel,
okay.
I mean, even to this day, like I said, it affects me to this day because I still have that idea that I had when I was a young girl or a young woman that I wanted, that I thought that, making love and being the intimacy and all of that together, it's like I go through life content that I don't have it, but still searching, if that makes any sense. Still wondering, will I ever
that
find
makes sense, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you process it as that's, you kind of have accepted, okay, this is the way it is. I missed it. It didn't happen. But, boy, it's something that I wish that if it could have been possible, that's what I would have rather had.
Right, exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I agree with you, Christina. Okay, so that was an episode that took place high school. Okay, what happened after that?
After high school, I went and I got married. I was married and remember that all of this, I'm skipping through a whole lot because there's a lot written in the book and there's a lot that has happened. So I'm trying to get to the most devastating things that I can think of and kind of hit on those. So the next thing was when I married very young, and I married a man that was an alcoholic. And I didn't know he was an alcoholic until after we got married.
Okay.
So, yeah, after we got married because, we were partying. It was there, everybody's drinking, and smoking cigarettes. And weed, but, they were just partying, house partying. That's what it was about. And then after I married him, he was a different person. He was completely different. He fought me. He hit me. The first time he hit me, I was just kind of blown away because I didn't come from a household of any kind of domestic violence. So I didn't know anything about domestic violence, but I knew I had just gotten hit. And so I was very afraid at that time because I didn't know what was next. Was it going to be another hit, And of course it was. It was another hit and another hit. And, of course, I went for cover, and tried to hide and this, that, and the other. So this happened more than one time. This happened multiple times. So after the second time it happened, I decided I wasn't going to let him just beat on me like that. And so our fights got more and more serious, and they lasted longer until I got tired of fighting. And one day I picked up a knife, and I stabbed him 14 times.
Oh, wow.
And that was to protect yourself.
Yes, exactly. Just to protect myself. Not to say I'm this big, bad person because I was never a fighter. We didn't have fighters in our family. Mommy didn't raise us that way. But we learned, at least I did, I learned how to defend myself very well. My aunt was pretty tough. And so I've been told a lot of times I take after her, but I can protect myself. I never, ever worried that I couldn't protect myself. After that, I knew that if I had to do it again, I would probably do the same thing because that's a sure way to stop somebody from hitting on you.
Well,
but,
of course, 14
definitely.
in your body. That does have a tendency. Nobody wants to fight somebody that stabbed them 14 times. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened to the relationship after that?
The relationship went down. I went to we actually tried to get things together again, but I couldn't get rid of the feelings that I had toward him because I got to the point where I did not only did I not love him anymore, I hated him.
Okay.
So, I was trying because I didn't have any place to live. And I said, well, I'm going to try. This was my first apartment, and I didn't want to leave it. But after that fight, I decided that I would not be a victim of domestic violence for the rest of my life. And so I left and I never looked back.
Okay.
Amen. Wow. And that's wow, that's deep right there. And if you don't mind, I need to, just because I have experienced, a lot of things and listening to you, what would you suggest to the ladies that are experiencing things, that are listening to this show, that as far as, because like what you said, and it's an ultimate decision to say enough is enough. Right? Like we all know when you're, what is that saying? When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're going to make that choice. And you're going to, so what did, and I wanted to interject because it's so important for people to listen and understand, because there's women that literally feel, oh, it is what it is, and da-da-da-da, and they become, and that's where I was. They become so familiar, not comfortable, familiar with those situations, according to sexual abuse and domestic violence. So at that point, when you made up your mind, what steps did you take to avoid that what steps did you take to come out of that, so to speak?
In that cycle.
Yes.
Well, I can go back to, I was not raised that way. So I knew that I did not want any kind of relationship like that. I didn't want a boyfriend like that, and I didn't want a husband like that. So, but I think that, it comes, when I was in the domestic violence situation, if I hadn't have been so down in my life at that time, and this is just for the listeners, the listeners, it will help them, is that before you even I think that even before it becomes domestic violence, you're already having issues with yourself. Not saying it's your fault that this person is hitting on you, but, if my mother hadn't raised me the way that I did to be a strong woman, then I could have very well still been in that situation. But I think my mother had a lot to do with me changing, so, getting out of that situation so fast. It's because my mother's very strong-willed, and she taught us, right and wrong. And, of course, I knew that somebody fighting on me was wrong because I never seen that other than TV. So I already knew.
Now, here's where I was just going to go. So did you get counseling after that? Or,
No.
What were the steps? You got counseling, and what did you learn in counseling?
No, I didn't get counseling.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I did not get any counseling.
Did you just walk out the door and said, I'm done? What happened that made you say, okay, that's it, okay. Just said, I'm done.
Well, I think we came close to me doing it again. I think that is, if I remember correctly, that is what made me turn around and say, this is not going to happen again, and I'm gone, and I just
right,
left.
Enough is enough, yes.
Yeah, I just wasn't going to go through that again,
All right. Now, I happen to know that you are also a survivor of drug addiction. That was a tremendous life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I want to tell all of my listeners, hold on to your seat, because this drug addiction, it led to prostitution. It led to being alienated from her family. It led to so many things. So let's try to segue now into how in the world did you get started with drugs? Maybe, is there a connection here to this whole low self-esteem thing? Go ahead and just let us know what happened.
Well, Rodney, I think my thing was that I just had an addictive personality.
All right.
Because, I really think that was what it was. I love whatever feels good to me. And so my first try, I loved it. My first try, I loved it. Everything that I had, the drinks, the drugs, everything that I've ever messed with, I loved it. And that's where I became addicted, was because I liked the way it made me feel. maybe I was trying to put something in back of my head and not remember it or block something out or block. I don't even know at that point because I was feeling too good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and hey, I mean, that's a good point because a lot of us do things, most human beings do things that feel good, and we like to repeat doing things that feel good. But, of course, you know, we try to have a balance. We try to say to ourselves, you know, hey, this chocolate cake feels good to me, or, you know, being out here in the beach, it feels good, but I can't stay out in the sun forever. I can't eat chocolate cake every day. The addictive personality, which I'm glad that you brought that up, takes it to that next level. Right, it's an extreme situation, and you are the epitome of extreme. when it comes down to enjoying your life, you enjoy life. But the reality is, and I want our listeners to hear this, that in many, many cases, people go into drug addiction because their real life is so hard to live. It's so difficult to live. Memories of past things that have taken place that, you know, they're dreaming about it. And many of them start off by just taking a little drink or taking a pill so they can sleep at night. Some of them start because of just some pain, but it's usually something that's missing that brings them to that next place. So, yeah, go ahead and you know, share more about that.
Well, I can go back to what I just said, basically about how it made me feel good. But as the more I did, the more I wanted, the stronger I wanted it. It got to the point where, for me, crack, that was the worst drug that I could use because it made me into a completely different person. It brought me to prostitution. You know, it brought me into stealing money from my family. You know, it made me do things that I would not do ordinarily. So that was the monster in my life, was that crack.
Wow.
But it's been many years. It's been since 1999. And I thank God for my life today. I thank God I don't have to worry about drugs today. I still have that addictive personality, but I know what not to get addicted to. I know, especially when it comes to drugs, I know that I cannot get hooked. I can't try any new drugs because if I love it, I'll be off and running again. And, you know, God already delivered me from it anyway, so I don't have to worry about that.
That's
Amen.
Great.
And would you mind sharing, because some people that are listening, like you said that you, as far as the addictive behavior, what is that entitled? Like for some that are listening. It's like you said, you still have that addictive behavior, even though you're not.
Addictive personality.
Yes,
right.
I do.
Yeah, addictive personality. I apologize.
Right. So, I mean, when I say that, it means that, like, say, I like my house clean. I am addicted to keeping my house clean. You know?
I'm OCD times like 10. Yeah, I'm the same way.
There's certain things in my life, you know, I still have that addictive personality where I only want to do it one way, and I want to keep doing it that way, and it works for me. It makes me feel good. It still makes me feel good. Now, I still have an addiction that I need to work on, and that's smoking cigarettes, but that's another show.
Okay. Right. Hey, that was my thing, too. I smoke menthols. Yeah, I smoked menthols for a few years, and so that's something. But you'll get there. You'll get there.
Oh yeah.
And let me add to this conversation because I'm glad you brought that up, Christina. We need to understand that the addictive personality is a person who usually there is something in their DNA that causes them to become easily addicted to things. So the addictive personality. You know, a lot of people have addictive personalities, but they don't necessarily exercise it. They don't necessarily allow it to control them. Or they are very, very selective. You know, there's some people who they have to have their gum in their mouth. It's, you know, they're addicted to chewing, or they're addicted to, you know, so they'll drink a lot of water, a lot of coffee, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just as a throw-in for people who are listening, addiction can be dangerous no matter what it is. It can be dangerous. So this is to all of our listeners. Don't accept addiction as being a norm and a healthy thing in your life. Anytime something controls you, anytime an outside thing controls you, and we're not talking about you know, eating and fresh air and drinking. Those are body functions. Those are elements that you need so your body can function. But we're talking about pleasure things that can become a part of your chemical balance. So you talk about cigarettes. Of course, all of the chemicals in cigarettes, just about everything is addictive. And so it feeds on. I mean, it's a money maker. That's what it is. It's a money maker.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do everything they can to make it so that you will stay addicted to it. You will never give it up until the day you die. That's the whole objective behind them creating something like that. And it just keeps going. And, you know, people get stuck in that mode of, I'm addicted. I can't stop. And that's not the life that God wants us to have. God wants us to have a life free from addiction to anything or anybody.
Oh, I was just going to ask that because I just got a message from someone listening, and that was the question. Can people become addictive to people or a person?
Yes. Kitty, you want to speak to that at all?
Well, I was addicted to my last husband. I was addicted to him.
Okay.
I was addicted to him. I was with him for 18 years, and I mean, I was just, everything was about him. You know, it was just him. I was addicted to him. If he hadn't divorced me, I'd still be with him if he hadn't died.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And let's, for our listeners' sake, and for that person who Christina says, let's identify again that we're talking about when your desire to have something or desire to please or whatever, when it becomes unhealthy. That's when we're talking about addiction. I can't do without it. And so if we understand that, we're not talking about, and I think I'm trying to clarify for Kitty, we're not talking about a person who just wants to please their spouse. We're not talking about somebody who just wants to have a wonderful relationship and it's a give and take for both people. We're not talking about that. She is talking about an unhealthy attachment. And it ended up, and I'll let her explain how that marriage ended. How can two people be in so much in love and then a divorce? So go ahead and share that, kid.
Well, my divorce came from my addiction. My addiction to crack. He stopped. We did it for a long time, many years early in our marriage, and he stopped the last 5 years of our marriage, and I was not ready to stop. And so he wanted a divorce. He no longer wanted to live that kind of lifestyle. And so I gave him the divorce, and that's how my marriage ended, was because of my addiction, because of me using drugs and not wanting to stop using drugs.
Right. And the danger, here's the danger, folks, for those of you who are listening. I witnessed a love that this man had for Kitty. That was, it was crazy. It was like, how in the world could this kind of love exist? Because they were genuinely in love. And when he came to me to share that he needed to divorce, it was tears were in his eyes. Because this was not something he wanted. He felt like this was something that he could no longer live under, with this addiction being a part of their life every day. So it was a traumatic thing. And so listeners, if you're there, hey, we're talking to somebody who survived addiction. She's remarried now. She survived addiction, okay? And that's what we do on Crises, is we celebrate the survival. But it doesn't mean that she doesn't still hurt behind some of the decisions and some of the consequences of that addiction and of the domestic violence and the bad relationships, all of that kind of stuff. So Kitty is more than just a story of a person that went through tough things. This story is about somebody who was able to live, and it's amazing. What I was going to say, to live through it. It's amazing, audience, if you know Kitty. If you know her, you find this person who's bubbly, this person who is just on fire about whatever she is doing. Christina, you're gonna have to meet her one day because she's just a great person. But you wouldn't think that she has gone through everything that she has gone through. Things that normally would take a person out. You wouldn't think that she has gone through these kinds of things. Kitty, how does it feel for our other survivors who are listening? How does it feel to look back over your life and see so many regrettable experiences, and then how are you able to still have a smile on your face from all of that?
Oh, that's nothing but God. I couldn't do
Amen.
that.
There you go.
That's nothing but God. That's nothing but God. And it was because my mother raised me in the church, she taught us that you can go to God, and God will help you through anything that you want help from. And most of my times when I was out on the street prostituting, I'd be sitting out on somebody's porch I didn't even know, and I would be praying, God, please help me. So he always hears when you ask him for help. He does. Time. And I hear my brother say how I survived so much. It was because God is the one who carried me through all of that. You know, I'm not a great person that can survive everything. I wouldn't have been able to survive none of that thing if I didn't have some sort of relationship with God, or if my parents and my family and my loved ones weren't praying for me all the time.
All right. Yeah. Wow.
All right now. But what about, and I have to interject here, right, what about those that didn't have that influence or didn't have that mama and the papa and the cousins, that mother of the church? You know, what about for those that didn't have that influence or those seeds planted in their life about God? What would you say to them through your experiences as far as them coming out of what they are going through?
Well, the only thing, especially if they don't have Christ in their life at all, is to get out of the situation. You can get out of the situation, and you can't see as long as you're in the situation. So if you get out of the situation, you know, you can see better. You can see everything that has happened past, you know, and you can figure out, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep doing this? And you can get yourself out of that situation once you make your mind up. It has to be you making your own mind up.
Yes, amen. That's a key right there.
Right. You don't want this no longer. No longer do you want this in your life. And once you get to that point, you know, nobody has to tell you to leave because you're going to leave on your own.
So it's basically a decision.
It has to be your decision. Nobody else can help you. Because somebody can talk you into well, go ahead and stay or try to do this or go ahead and leave. If they talk you into leaving and you're not ready to leave, you're going to go back.
Exactly.
You know, so you
because
have to
you're making a choice for them.
Right,
exactly.
not for yourself. Right.
Exactly.
Now, I've often heard people say that if you leave and you haven't made up in your mind, then you'll just go back. Now, does that say that a person shouldn't leave? If a person's life is in danger, but they're confused emotionally and mentally, should they not leave even if they're not ready?
No, they should always leave, but it's them that has to make that decision.
Yeah.
I think, personally, you should always leave out of a situation when there's domestic violence involved or some kind of abuse involved.
Okay. But we do know and we do understand that very often a person, they have so much to consider. You didn't have children, but had you had children, it might have been different. If you got a bunch of kids and the husband is paying all of the bills and has a nice house and everything is there in place from it, I would imagine that could be very, very difficult. And I'm bringing this up to our listeners because I want you to be able to know we're not saying that it's easy when she said, just leave. We're not saying that this is just something that's simple to do. We are saying that sometimes that decision to protect you and to protect your family, it could be a matter of life and death, and you have to consider the worst case scenario. Am I right, folks?
Yeah, and you know what? Back in the day, back in our mother's time, parents' time, they stayed in those abusive relationships up until death do they part. They did that.
Right.
Yes. Those women learned, they were very strong women, and they did a lot of praying. Praying.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I do believe that they have so many resources for women that have children that they could get the help that they need. Too many shelters, women's shelters, and, that take kids. And, there's a lot of options today that they didn't have back then.
Right. And unless we jump on that and really understand how important it is to make the move. In fact, let me give a number to anybody who's listening who's in a situation where domestic violence is occurring. 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. If you are in a domestic violence situation or you're in an environment where you fear for your life, it doesn't have to be just physical. It could be mental abuse. It could be emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, of course. But if you feel that you're in a situation where you have to get out, call that number.
Yes.
And get out. And for the sake of your children, what have you, again, that's 1-800-799-SAFE or 799-7233. Okay? Wow. This has been a lot. We've been talking about a lot. For those of you who just tuned in or recently tuned in, we're talking to Delphia Kitty Addison. She's the author of the book Black Sheep Talking. Delphia, how would people get in touch with you? What's your email address or whatever? If somebody wanted to invite you to come and speak or wanted to get your book, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They could email me at del3322002@yahoo.com.
Okay, say that again.
That email address is del3322002@yahoo.com.
Good. And that's
right.
DEL, that's dog, elephant, laughter. DEL. Okay. Great. And, of course, they can contact you. She is working with us at Brothers United Against Domestic Violence. That website is www.nomordv.net. Nomordv.net. You can reach Delphia that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other ways that they can contact you?
Well, other than my phone number, I don't want to put that out yet.
No, but, you don't want to do that. No, you don't want to do that.
Right.
And how do they get your book?
They can get my book through my email address, or they can go to Barnes & Noble. They can order it from Barnes & Noble, from Nobles. Yeah, Barnes & Nobles. And what is the other one? There's a couple of books. You can put my name in there. Actually, this is a very simple way to do it. You can put my name in the search engine, or you can put my book in the search engine, and my name should pop up.
Okay, you're named Adelphia Addison?
Yes.
Yes. How do you spell that? Because I want to make sure I'm like ready to write that name down.
It wouldn't be under Addison. It would be under Rowe, which was my ex-husband's last name. So it would be Delphia, Delphia, Pearson, Pearson, and then the last name is Rowe, Rowe.
Okay, thank you for that.
Great. That's great.
One thing I did want to say before I got off was I thought about the question that you asked me, what advice could I give somebody that's going through that? One thing that I had to do was I had to take the focus off of my situation, and I had to focus on me. So a lot of times you have to find somebody that you can talk to. I mean, if it's a police officer or a nurse or a counselor, somebody that you need to talk to that doesn't know anything about your situation, because they can give you some advice without being biased or anything like that.
Okay. So somebody who may not know you personally, but they might have some understanding of what your situation is.
Right. And even if they don't have any understanding, they can probably still give you some good advice on what you need to do, or at least let you focus on what you need to focus on so that you can move on.
Right. And folks, let me tell you this. Even if the person, and I think this is where Kitty is going, even if the person they may not be a professional counselor, they may not be a therapist, they may not be a preacher, or understand all of the nuances of domestic violence and escape and what have you. But the thing is, listen, just be open to listen, because if nothing else, they may care more about you than the abuser does. And in cases like that, that's what you need, is you need an advocate. You need somebody who is least willing to help you to sort things through. So, you know, they might tell you, girl, you need to leave that guy. Well, you may not be ready to leave, but at least listen enough to know you may want to say, you know what, I can't leave, but I got to put a safety plan in place so that if I am in danger, you know, what do I do if I'm in danger? Who do I call? You know, you may have to tell a girlfriend, hey, if I call and I tell you Jack and the Beanstalk, then you know I'm in trouble. You know, codes like that. Things that you can put in place that can help you. So we want to make sure that our listeners hear that as well. Well, this has really been good. Christine, do you have anything else that you want to ask her? We only have a couple more minutes.
Wow, no. I mean, we pretty much summed it up. I mean, I can't wait. I really want to get the book myself, and I just praise God for you. I thank you for your time tonight and in sharing your transparency and even though I'm an overcomer and a survivor as well, but it's so important to be able to share. And that's something, I don't know if that's like a little newfound motto for me, but silence is not an option. It's not a solution. There we go. Silence is not a solution, because sometimes it's so taboo to even talk about. I've been molested. I've been sexually abused. I have addictions. But so we have to be able to speak up and speak out. And there is a plan B. There is hope. Yes, go ahead.
When you're silent, what you do is you have to live with your own demons.
Exactly. And you're enabling that behavior to continue. Yes.
Wow. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people are recognizing, is that it's not healthy to be silent, especially when you're talking about life and death matters. It's not healthy to be silent. We have to speak up. And so, that's our final words to all of you that are out there who are listening. Don't sit back and suffer in silence. Tell somebody. Put something out there that lets people know, if you get in trouble, you got somebody to call. Listen, we are down in the last 30 seconds, and I have to say thank you so much, Delphia, Kitty, Addison, Rowe, or however many names you have.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming and sharing. To all of our audience, this Crises, the radio show, we are working on Crises being a television show as well. So Christina and we're always got our eyes open. We're always got our ears open, looking for the right studio, for the right place. And I have to say that today I was able to get a contract for an actual television show that's going to be airing in California.
Woohoo!
But yeah,
Wow.
and so we got some exciting things. But our time is up. We'll talk about that more. Thanks for all of you who are listening. Thank you again, Kitty. Thank you, my co-host, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you. Amen. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Nice to meet you, too. I'm going to have to meet you in person, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for everybody.
You have some books with me.
Okay, good.
Okay.
You have books
have
with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody. God bless you. And Agape always will see you next week or hear from you next week on Crises Radio. Good night.
Good night. God bless.
Good night.
Oh, no.